Hey everyone, it's Justine, and today I am coming to you with a video featuring one of these really cool stamp sets called the Sparkle Dot Pattern from Pretty Pink Posh. I'm always looking for really unique ideas for stamp sets instead of the same old stuff you kind of find everywhere, and this is definitely a really great stamp to have in your collection because there's so much you can do with it. I know they're just circles in various shapes and sizes, but I'm going to show you lots of examples on how you can create really pretty and elegant, clean and simple cards with these. So to get started, I stamped the rainbow stamp in some antique linen ink from the Distress line. I wanted something that was really light, so something that I could barely see when it's all finished. And I'm going to do a rainbow color order. However, there aren't enough lines on the rainbow to actually do each of the colors. So I'm going to use my Nuvo jewel drops here to create my rainbow. Now, Nuvo drops are very simple. They are a liquid in a bottle. They harden to form almost like a plastic enamel when they are finished. I do recommend letting them dry overnight if you want them to maintain the dome shape or that really sort of circular look. If you would like flat ones, just place something light on top of them after they've finished briefly drying for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. You get two very different looks and they're really fun. Some people have been saying that Nuvo drops are a little bit difficult to use. I don't find that's the case. You can see I hold them at about a 45-degree angle. I put the tip directly to the paper. I squeeze as much liquid as I want the size of the dot to be. I stop squeezing and I pull up. Now and again, I do get peaks. They're not perfect, but I'm also not a perfectionist, so that doesn't really bother me, but most of the time I find the peaks go down if you let them dry. Now for my second example, I'm going to be stamping a heart, again with the antique linen dye ink so that it's really nice and light and I don't see it when it's all finished. And I'm going to be creating a heart. Now you could create a lot of really fun looks. So I used the jewel drops on the previous card. Those created sort of a transparent but colorful look. This one here are going to be using the more opaque Nuvo drops, and these are going to be really elegant because I'm using two very elegant colors. I wanted to do sort of like a black and this rose gold color. Now it's really important as well to practice with these because practice makes perfect. There's a lot in a bottle. I've never had to replace a bottle yet, and you could see how much I use them in my videos. Also, if you're really uncomfortable with doing it directly to paper, which is my preferred method because they stick directly to paper, you can also do the drops on a piece of acetate, let them dry overnight, and then attach them with a glue dot so that you can make sure that you only get the perfect ones each time. It's just what you're comfortable with and how you feel about it. So for this card here, I'm actually going in and I'm doing sort of a pattern. I started with the black or the rose gold, then I did black and a circle around it, and then rose gold and a circle around that. And I'm going from color to color. Now I absolutely adored this color combination, so what I decided to do was do a more intricate pattern for this one. So I took the petal stamp that comes in the stamp set. I stamped it 4 times, so kind of in a north, south, east, west sort of position, or bottom, top, right, and left. And then I ended up creating a mask out of some masking tape, and I went ahead and masked off my flower area, and I only needed to create 2 masks at a time, and I went ahead and I stamped the petals that would be in the middle of each one because obviously a flower does not just have 4 petals. So I went ahead and I stamped in between those stamp sets, and I just changed the mask each time as necessary so that I was able to cover the areas that I needed. Now jumping ahead, you can see that the flower is all complete and I am able to start my petals. So I decided to alternate between the 2 colors. I decided to create black petals and then the rose gold petals so that I created a very different and unique look each time. So I made sure that I did the black petals fully on the bottoms and the sides. This is more dominant color than the rose gold. And then I went ahead and added a couple of dots to the middle. I then went in and filled the remaining dots here with the rose gold. Those are the ones that are kind of sitting behind the black petals, and I absolutely adore this card. This may be one of my favorite cards out of the year, actually, and it's just coming to me at the end of December, so it's great timing. Now, of course, Nuvo drops are not the only thing that you can place on these cards. You could also add things like sparkles, jewels, crystals. You could also add sequins. So I thought I would do 2 sequin cards here as examples. Now, these are a little bit more difficult because it depends on your dexterity level. If you have a pick-me-up tool or not, I was actually house sitting when I created this video, so I didn't have my pick-me-up tool, and I just used my fingers and tweezers to try to get the sequins on. So I will link to the pick-me-up tool in the video description below so that you can see it's simply a tool, like almost like a pen that is used to pick up things like sequins and glue them onto your page. And what I did was I took some Tombow Mono liquid adhesive and I added, let's say, 10 drops at a time because I knew it was going to be slow going, and then I just continued on with the sequins. And sometimes I needed my fingers to help me and sometimes I didn't. It really just kind of actually got better with practice. And I'm using some pretty pink Posh winter sparkles at the moment to create this card here for a nice wintry look. And I will show you the finished result of the entire star when I start putting all the cards back together. But before we start putting all the cards together, I wanted to show you something a little bit more intricate. Now you can see here that I have stamped out the petals sort of wide and far away, spaced out from each other, and I'm going to be using 2 different sequins from Lucy's cards. I'm going to be using Apricot and Pale Pistachio to create the front of these cards, and I am going to be alternating for the petals of these ones as well. And I'm going to be putting them on the same way as I did for the star. So I'm just going to speed you up here for time purposes, and let's get started. So I'm going to be doing each petal in the various colors, and also you'll notice that some of my petals actually are stamped off of the front card panel. And because I'm going to be attaching this to a larger card base, I don't mind that the sequins are going to go slightly off of the edge and are going to be leaning over. I think that actually makes the card in the very end look so interesting and unique. Now, picking out your sequin colors is important as well. I chose 2 very pastel colors for this one, and you can see that you get a totally different elegant look than when I picked rose gold and black for some of the previous cards. You can get some really unique looks using sequins, as I said, jewels or Nuvo drops to create some really cool patterns. And the stamp set is so unique because it gives you that pattern that you need in order to create it. Now I'm grabbing my mini die cutting machine here from Altenew, and I'm going to go ahead and add this thank you die from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm going to put that in through the die cutting machine. And I'm going to cut several different cuts in white paper as well as black paper to add to the front of my cards. This isn't going to be good for all of the cards because some of them are just too small of images. They'll get taken over by that thank you. But I thought it would be a great idea to use this on the larger images and then use smaller sentiments on the smaller images. So once I had some black and white images cut out, I took some Collage medium here, which you could also use to attach sequins. It's also a really great adhesive. And I attached some of the white die cuts to the front of the black die cuts, and I have them a little off center so that it creates a nice little shadow behind the white. I was a little bit concerned about adding white to the front of white cardstock because I didn't want them to get lost in the background, but I also didn't want them to take away from the pretty intricate background that we just took. So I think adding the thank you with just the slight bit of black in the middle of this flower is perfect. Now when it came to this card here, I didn't have any colors that were going to match. Black was going to be too harsh, white was going to get lost on the page, and I don't have any cardstock that is in that pale green color or that apricot color. So what I decided to do was color my own die cut using a Copic marker. I used G21. This is a pretty perfect match to that pistachio color that I found in my stash, and I'm going to go ahead and just color the die cut here using my Copic marker. Usually you don't get any really harsh lines with alcohol markers, so it's really perfect to add to your dies. And this is a really great way as well, if you don't have colored cardstock, to be able to create your own. Now for the rest of my cards, I went ahead and I stamped 3 very simple sentiments from the Thinking of You stamp set from Altenew. I went ahead and stamped these with some VersaFine ink, and I stamped all 3 very fine sentiments onto the front of my card, and I simply cut them out with my paper trimmer. As you can see, for each of these images, I was able to create a very small sentiment for the front of each of them. I attached them either in the middle of the image that I created or on underneath, and you just need to stick something heavy on top of this so that it sticks to the enamel dots. So once again, I let these dry overnight, and then I decided to do this step here. So I just add an acrylic block on top of it just to give it a little extra weight, and it will eventually adhere to the actual enamel dots themselves with no problem. Now the last thing I had to do was attach these to some card bases. So as you can see, I have the rainbow card here with a nice thinking of you. So that would be a nice way to be able to cheer up a friend. And then I went ahead and did the rest of them. So I'm just going to put you into a bit of a faster motion here. So we have the thinking of you with the rainbow. I have I am here for you with the black and rose gold enamel dots, followed by the thank you that is done with the pistachio and apricot sequins, and then the rose gold and black again with the white and black thank you. You can see here that I actually created a Merry Christmas card. Now unfortunately Christmas has passed, so didn't show too much of that in the video tutorial, but it's the same way I did the other cards. And lastly, I've got the You've Got This with the blue encouraging heart. So here's a final look at all of the cards, whether they are featuring sequins like these two cards, enamel dots in the Nuvo drops, whether they are intricate or simple shapes. They are just so gorgeous, and I hope you'll think about picking up the stamp set because it really is so versatile. I have a suggested video available for you here that I think you'll really like after watching this one, and you can welcome to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget that all products are listed as well as supply lists in the video description below or on my blog. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.